Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Miki here with your singing reaction video of the week. I'm actually recording this video at the same time as I recorded the previous one. So for continuity's sake, you can see I still have the same crummy two-tone manicure here, but I did change my shirt to try and make it look a little bit different. And I'm wearing my favorite sweater that says, "Sorry, I am very awkward, sorry," because it's true. Today, we're gonna be reacting to another video that was suggested to me by the YouTube algorithm gods. And it is entitled Olivia Lawson Performs Smells Like Teen Spirit, The Voice UK 2015. And as many of you know, Nirvana is one of my favorite bands. They were extremely influential to me, as well as many other people, but both personally and professionally, they were one of the first bands that I heard that really lit a fire under my butt to want to write my own music. Up until then, I studied classical piano and I thought that was going to be my path. But when I heard Nirvana, in particular the song Lithium, I was like, I need to do this. And very, very few things since then have made me get that electricity feeling where I like turn into a hyperventilating rodent because I'm so excited, you know, and I'm like, they do that and a few other groups. And one thing that I think is really interesting about Nirvana for me is that when I first heard Kurt Cobain's voice, the first song I ever heard of theirs was All Apologies on the MTV Unplugged special. And I remember hating Kurt Cobain's voice because it just was like so raw and it sounded like it was like so full of pain and it was so distorted and dissonant and not like beautiful, you know? And up until then, I'd been listening to like my parents' records of like the Beatles and stuff. And like Peter, Paul and Mary and the Carpenters and all of that stuff is like so pretty. And then I ended up loving it. And I think the reason that it was so influential to me and that I hated it in the beginning is because it really challenged me. And that's been true of everything that's had an enduring effect on me. Like Nine Inch Nails was exactly the same. When I first heard the Downward Spiral and those opening just like, I was like, this sounds like a subway train. Like, why would anybody like this? But then I ended up loving it because it made me grow and really challenged me to transform the way that I listen to things and conceive of music. And the stuff that I initially like right away is more innocuous and doesn't have a long-term lasting effect on me because somehow that's already part of my DNA. That's why it passes in so easily and it's not adding anything to my musical lexicon. So I wonder if that's the same for you guys. Do you have that process where you hear something and it's really challenging and then that's the kind of stuff that sticks with you and makes you grow, or you know what you like right away, and if you hate something, you end up hating it in the long term. So I'm very curious to know what you think. And that's not to say that I don't hear things and hate them and continue to hate them forever. That happens to me all the time with most music that I hear. But the stuff that really gives me a very, very strong visceral emotional reaction, it's usually because it's doing something important inside of me and making me grow in some way. So that was a very, very long intro, but it's just to say that when I saw that this was a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, I was very curious to see what it would sound like. So let's jump in and watch the video. I actually have not watched the full thing through yet, so it's going to be a real-time reaction as well. So here we go.
Load up on guns, bring your friends. It's fun to lose and to pretend she's overboard, self-assured. Oh no, I know a dirty word. Hello. Come on. Hello, how low. Hello. I'm worse at God, but I do best. And for this gift, I feel blessed.
Okay, so initial impressions, she's obviously a beautiful young girl and there's something very captivating about her the moment that she walks out. And when she starts singing, you can see that all of the judges are like, oh, like it takes them a second and then they recognize the song and they're like, oh, this is interesting, you know? And I love me a cover that really takes the song out of context and makes it sound really, really different. So this has all of the makings of being really, really interesting and good. However, I don't think that it really works for me. Obviously, I probably am a little bit biased because I love the original so much, but it's made into this like really, really soft piano ballad. She's singing it in this very gentle way, kind of almost emulating Billie Eilish, but she does not have the stylistic chops of Billie Eilish. She just has a very nice, pleasant voice. She's singing very quietly, and it's almost very like soporific. Like I feel like I just took a Valium or something, like I'm gonna go to sleep. There's nothing really that interesting about it. And I find her pronunciation, her mispronunciation of words, very annoying. It's like a very generational kind of pronunciation of like young girls purposefully sounding like they have a big candy in their mouth and they can't talk. Hello, 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 hello. I load up on guns, bring your friends. I mean, it sounds like Marilyn Monroe to me or something. Like it sounds like you have a speech impediment. It's annoying to me.
Little group has always been and always will be until the end. Hello, 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 how low.
Okay, so you see her family really cheering her on and really rooting for her, and that always tugs at the heartstrings. I know how invested people are in like wanting their kids to succeed, and now that I'm a mom, that means even more to me. And you know, I know how much she's probably wanting to make her family proud, so that, you know, speaks to me. I don't know what her particular story is. I know on these voice shows they always give you a lot of backstory on the contestant, and it's usually this like really heart-wrenching tale of overcoming some adversity. So that could all possibly be true in this case, but I'm kind of glad that I don't know the backstory and I can just judge it on the performance itself. So I'm also a little bit confused as to the judges' reactions. I can't tell whether they're like really into it. One of the judges, Rita, just hit the button and wants her to move on. So she clearly is into it, but there's a guy on the panel who like is kind of almost looks like he's trying not to laugh and like put his head down in his hands. And that's kind of how I feel. Like I'm kind of like, what's going on? Like, is this a parody almost? Because it seems like, I don't know, there's just something off about it that doesn't really work for me.
With the lights out, it's dangerous. Here we are now, entertainers. I feel stupid and contagious. Here we are now, entertainers. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so she got 3 out of 4 judges. The only one that didn't hit the button was the older guy, and maybe it is a generational age thing. I mean, I'm 39. I'm about to be 40, and so you know, I lived through the first, the real Nirvana, and so you know, I think they have a different kind of significance to me than this girl who is getting to know them and getting into their music at this point in her life. So I appreciate that she is delving into Nirvana and wanting to reinterpret and give new life to those songs. Not that they need it. I mean, they're still very, very successful. But there are many, many young people who don't know who Nirvana are. Surprisingly, I learned this and it was very shocking to me. But, you know, I think it's cool that she wants to reinterpret one of their songs. The big problem that I have with this is her singing technique sounds not very developed. She's singing in this very, very gentle, breathy way, and she is mostly on pitch, but there's some pitchiness, and there's really not a lot of dynamics going on in terms of her maturity of interpretation. I don't hear a lot of crescendos and diminuendos or phrasing or anything that really makes it that interesting. It's all very, very quiet and gentle and almost lazy sounding. Like it just sounds like very, very like drugged and kind of lazy, and maybe Kurt Cobain would appreciate that, you know, the drugged aspect to it. I don't know, but I really don't think that this lived up to its potential. And I think just because you take a song out of context and make it into something that it wasn't before, just because there's a girl singing this and now it's a piano ballad as opposed to a male-fronted alternative rock song, it doesn't make it good just because it's different, you know, and this certainly pales in comparison to the original. And, you know, it's hard to cover a Nirvana song. I've seen a lot of covers by a lot of different people of varying levels of professionalism, and none of them have really risen to the level that I would have hoped given the quality of the songwriting. So I'm still waiting to see somebody do that really successfully, but this is really, I think, not good in my opinion. And I'm sorry to be mean. I know people are probably gonna come for me. I'm sorry if you really like this performance, but that's my honest opinion and appraisal of the singing technique and just the overall emotional content and maturity level of the performance. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you like these response videos to stuff that randomly comes up in my YouTube suggestions. I think it's kind of fun to just see what the YouTube gods deliver to me. So I could definitely do some more of these, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. I will see you here next week, if not before. Until then, happy singing.